January has always been the ideal time in all of our lives where we start over, right? Everything that we failed to do last year, we're just kind of redoing. In fact, some of us become cynical and say, you know what, I'm not going to do any more New Year's resolutions because I'm tired of failing all the time and making them happen. So we kind of get cynical in that, but it's always a good time for us to reevaluate where we are, who we are, where we're going, what direction we're heading. It's always a great time for us to start up, I think, new resolutions, even if it only gets us through the first several months of the year. January is a great time for new beginnings. It's a great time for new commitments. It's a great time for new directions in our lives and seeing things that are on the horizon. But it's also, in my opinion, one of the greatest times for us to recommit ourselves to our faith, to recommit ourselves to growing our faith, to developing it, to challenging our faith to grow deeper and stronger and more mature than the previous years. Because growing in our understanding of God is very critical in helping us to live gracefully through all the next stages of life that we all go through. And we go through a lot of stages in life. You know, one thing I'm very painfully aware of is how life changes. And it changes so quickly, doesn't it? Changes kind of suddenly. You just kind of wake up one day and think, how can I possibly have two kids all the way through college? How does that happen? It just all of a sudden just happens to be there. And I'm painfully aware that these changes take place all the time, and we don't ever pay attention to it a lot of times until all of a sudden it just hits us upside the head. You know, when I first preached here, I was starting a family. Starting a family. My first child was 3 or 4 years old, can't remember. She's one of those. Sam was an infant, and we watched two of my children being born and raised in this church, and that's just kind of mind-boggling to me. Because the life stages that we were going through at that particular time, I was going through at that time, was two young professional people, and Brenda and myself, starting a family. Starting a family and all the challenges that are brought to that, all of the juggling, all the chaos that came with it. I was 30 pounds lighter. I had a ton more energy, but you know what? I was far less patient. And there's a stage of my life where I was constantly trying to tell God what God needed to do with me. Here's my list. I'm too busy to listen to you, so I need you to listen to me and help me get these things done in my life because I got too much stuff going on. Today is different. Today I'm now on that verge of entering yet another stage of life. It's that empty nest stage. Life without kids. Life without constant noise. Life without activity. Trying to figure out what in the world we're going to do with our lives that does not involve chaos. That doesn't involve divide and conquer. That doesn't involve people living all over our house at all times. You know, Brenda's brother stayed with us for a little while. He was working down here, and he'd have to come in late at night. And during the summer, he said he'd come home, and there's just people all over the TV room, sleeping. And he said to us, it looks like people just fell out of a helicopter. And so we have to learn how to deal with life without those activities going on. It takes us to different stages of life, and stages that I see changing. You know, my eyes are starting to droop, you know. I sleep less, but I drink more coffee. I'm losing my hair everywhere except for my eyebrow. I don't understand that. You pray for a bald spot, like, how about right here, God? No, let's try up here. It's closer to the sun. Makes sense. But there's all sorts of things that are taking place in our lives. And now on the horizon, we're going to start having conversations that are different. Conversations about downsizing because we don't like the way the house echoes anymore. Weddings. Grandchildren. retirement. All of which were conversations we never even dreamed of having 20 years ago. Change is frightening, especially when it happens to be our age. It involves our age. But what I have learned that helps us make these changes and to make the most out of the gifts that we are given and receive on these other stages of life is our constant commitment to growing and developing and challenging our faith to grow deeper and stronger and more mature than the years before. Because God is a great God, and God is always doing something through us regardless of what stage of life we are entering. For each new stage of life, God has something that is in store for us. And the secret to growing gracefully through these different stages of life and discovering God's purpose for our life is to continue to grow in our understanding of God. And this is what makes Paul so excited all the time in some of his letters, especially in this one in Ephesians. Here's a guy who is in prison, and he's trying to convince people that his life is better than their life. My brother never convinced me when he was in prison that his life was better than mine. But I got a sneaky feeling that he was in prison for different reasons than what Paul was for. And he was. But here is Paul. Hey, I know I'm in jail. I know I'm chained to a wall. But he is begging people, I beg you to lead this life that is worthy to the calling to which you have been called. It's a great life. Are you kidding me? You're in prison. And do you hear Paul? He is making a statement over every generation of God's people to seek out what it is that God has in store for you regardless of where you are in life, and to make every effort to be a part of the church's mission that brings us all together for the purpose of representing Christ in the world. But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Before we can even begin to represent Christ in the world, we have to do something, right? We're going to have to figure out who this Christ is. That's the hard part. What did he do? What did he say? What kind of attitude did he bring to life? What did he command those who chose to follow him to do? What does he expect from all of us? And that is something we have to learn and grow and do. We cannot simply follow someone if we don't know who we are following or where they're going or where they want us to go. We have to know Christ. You know what the biblical word for know is? It's the most intimate part of a relationship that a person can have with another human being. To know Christ is to know Christ intimately. Think about what that would look like of how we understand our relationship with Christ. To know Christ intimately. And so the question we have to ask ourselves, especially this time of year as we're starting off a new year, is that do we know Christ intimately? Do we know Christ better than our best friend? Do you know Christ better than your spouse? Do you know Christ better than your significant other? Do you know Christ better than your business plan? Several weeks ago, we took a wonderful survey, man. We've learned so much from the survey. And we asked it here in the sanctuary, and we asked 4 questions, and you responded. And we had so much great response, and that has been really, really wonderful. And the first 4 questions, the 4 questions that we asked were this. It was, why are you here? What are you hoping to find? And how are you seeking what you're looking for? And how can we help you? Good questions, I thought. Great responses. So if we went to the second one that says, what are you hoping to find every time you gather together on Sunday morning? You're here for a reason, right? I'm hoping it's just not because you had to come so you can eat like my kids. I hope there's reasons that you come here. And so what are you hoping to find when you are here? And the top 3 answers we looked at last week were this. The most popular answers were, you want here because you want to grow your faith. You're here because you truly want to understand God. You're here because you want to find some community. And I call that the safe place where all of our growth can take place. People that we can trust. People we can lean on. People that we can call family. You know what friends are? That God's definition of friends? It is friends are God's apology for family. All right? And that's what we represent. What true family looks like, right? We got a plaque. I'm serious. We have a plaque on a wall in our house that says, "Friends welcome anytime. Family appointment only." You know? If it was all about our kin, we would be in great trouble. Read the Bible. You talk about dysfunction. That makes our family look semi-normal, right? That is why Christ says, you know what? It's not about the blood in your veins. It's about the commitment in your heart. And if we can find people who are like-minded and like-hearted, and let's say we use a guy named Christ to set the parameters for that, then we have something very special. Something very special. And if we can find a community, a safe place where we can put aside all of our garbage or even deal with it in a place that we know the people we can trust, then we have something special. And these answers we got are great. It talks about what we want to know, what we want to grow. It says that we're seeking, trying to discover God. We're trying to create a safe place where we can explore our faith, our past, and deal with it on a deeper level. We want to be able to ask those questions, right? That are constantly filling our minds and making us confused, but we're too ashamed to say it because we think we're the only Christian in the whole universe that has these questions. And so nobody asks the questions that we need to deal with. But we all have the same questions. People always say, "Why'd you preach that sermon?" I'm preaching to me. I don't know what's thinking in your mind, but I've always believed that if it's in my brain, it's in your brain. If it's part of my thought process, it's a part of your thought process. If it's my struggle, it's your struggle. You know what? We're all in this together. We all get the same issues. Is that this is different because we try to lay them down and figure out how this God can help us to get to where we are to where God needs us to be. We want to grow. We want to understand. We want to move beyond where we are to where God needs us to be so we can find some fulfillment in our lives. That's what I like about the answers to these questions, because that's what that says to me. But, you knew there was a but coming, right? A big but. A big but. The but is this. There seems to be a very large disconnection between what we're really hoping to find, what we're seeking and craving and needing in our lives, and how we are seeking what we are looking for. How are you seeking? The most popular answers we have is just attend. Just be here. And then there's 2 things we do on our own. A personal study and our prayer time. You know, of all the 7 elements of faith, you know the one element that people struggle with the most? More than any other, by leaps and bounds, it would be number 3. We struggle with prayer. We don't know how to pray. We don't know what to pray. We're afraid to listen to God. We don't know how to listen to God. Because right when we start to listen to God, I got this list of things I'm supposed to do, and I better get up and go, or I'm wasting time. And so the things that we say that we're trying to do in order to grow our faith so great and deep is just to be here and to do things at home. And that's just not going to get it. That's a great, great start. But we're not going to get where we need to be and where you are trying to seek, or what you're trying to seek and what your needs are. It's a good start. But we need to do more in order to be successful with our faith. And we want you to be successful with your life with Christ. That is why we're here. That is why I am here. That's why people on staff are here, is to tell us or to teach us and help us to be successful in your life with Christ. But success is not easy to achieve, is it? It's not. Because it requires a great amount of effort and energy and commitment. I want us to think just a minute about what you want to be successful about in your life. Think about success for a minute. What do you want to do to be successful? Do you want to have a successful business? What do you have to do in order to be successful in that? Do you want to be successful in school? What do you have to do to be successful in school? I don't know what that's like. But I do know how to be successful as an athlete. And I do know the time, the effort, and energy, and the pain, and staking, and all that you need to do in order to be on top. So think about those things that you want to be successful at. We were in a Wednesday night Bible study here, 30 of us, and I asked that question. If you had to be successful, someone said, how do I get success? What are the top 3 things that you would tell people to be successful at anything? You know what the top 3 answers were? Well, there wasn't 3, there was 5. Because success isn't easy. It's just not like 3 easy steps to be successful. You can write a book. There's plenty out there. Top 5 answers are this: education, hard work, forgiveness, love, compassion, being humble, being a trustworthy person, and the ability to help others. That's a pretty profound statement, isn't it? To be successful in this world, we have to be committed to learning. We have to be willing to put forth the hard work and the determination to grow and to develop. We have to be, in order to be successful, we're going to have to learn how to be a trustworthy person, a person that people can trust, and we're going to have to learn how to trust people who are next to us. What I love about this particular answer is that our group sees that there is nothing selfish about being successful. Success is about giving back. It's about moving beyond our wants and our needs and to help others in their times of need. Commitment to learning and hard work and determination, learning how to respect others through forgiveness and love and compassion and being humble, and trusting others and helping other people. That is a phenomenal recipe for what we do here, to grow, to live, to share together. I want us to think about this, because what you are seeking here, this is a good start. And I think over the last few decades, we've kind of gotten just this expectancy of the church has just kind of gone down. That all we need to do is just attend and do stuff on our own. And it's not getting us where we need to be, where we desire to be. So we need to step up. So next week, we're going to tackle the last statement of the survey. How can we help you grow in your faith? How can we help you get a better understanding of God? How can we create a safe place where all of this can take place? Because that is why we're here. So for next week, we're going to talk more about this and finish up this series about how we can start this year off right and what we can do to make ourselves stronger so the church is stronger and we can come together to represent Christ in the community. Think about those words up there. Think about your place within it and start making some of those resolutions in your minds as well.